to the welcome to the second of our webinars, international webinar series, hosted by the Ayush Valley Foundation. I want to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about the Ayush Valley Foundation. The Ayush Valley Foundation was set up with a view to consolidating and providing a home for Ayurveda and Ayush systems in India. Unlike a very formal structure, we wanted to have an open church approach. We wanted to bring in as many people from wherever, from all walks of life, from across the world, into a place which will be a home for them. And a home not only for Ayurveda practitioners, maybe people interested in promoting some business side of things, or understanding a little more about Indian culture. So a completely open approach to Ayurveda and a very informal structure. And we wanted particularly to use the power of the internet, the way we are connecting with the world today. And so here we are. This is the Ayush Valley. The team for the Ayush Valley are located in an ancient small town along the side of Kerala's longest river, the river Bharatapuzha. And in Malayalam, it's known locally as Neela. And the town is called Shornur. It is a town with a big, long history. Shornur is home for one of the oldest, or perhaps the oldest Ayurveda centers in the world. It's called the Kerala Ayurveda Samajam, known to people locally as Samajam. And Samajam, over the last 125 odd years, has been a bedrock of Ayurveda clinical practice, Ayurveda innovations, Ayurveda training, Ayurveda mentoring. Many of the stalwarts in Ayurveda today, especially the older Ayurveda houses, have all at some point trained and learned at the Samajam. And so we feel very fortunate that the Kerala Ayurveda Samajam provides us the ecosystem from which we can operate this and reach out to the world. Now, the Valley wishes to provide the world a new way of thinking about health and well-being, not just about health care, but health and well-being. So all of those attending today, we welcome you to the event. We welcome you to the Ayush Valley. You can see up here on my back the logo for the Valley. Our website is still starting to get a bit of shape, but in a few months' time, we will have a more substantial web presence. We will also have recordings of all these events archived on the website for people to come and learn from, refer to, and improve over the time to follow. So welcome all to the event. I'm quickly looking at our attendee lists. We have 64 attendees to date right now, and I think we'll wait till we get to about 75 before we go on to introduce our panelists. We are very fortunate to have with us panelists today from Australia, New Zealand. We have Martina from the Czech Republic, from the heart of Europe, and Dr. Bhaswati joining us today from India. She's based in, most times based in New York, but based today, she's coming to us from the small temple town of Udupi in Karnataka. The way we are going to run this event today, we are being generous with time. We will have about 2 hours with us, maybe a little more depending on where the participants want to go, but we will have at least 2 hours. So the speakers will have sufficient time to present their views and thoughts and wishes about this fascinating topic about COVID-19 and particularly the prophylaxis for COVID-19 and what can Ayurveda give to this unfortunate pandemic that has taken over the world and people's minds and anxieties and worries. So that is the aim. In 2 hours, we'll try and cover as much as possible. There will be opportunity for people to, participants to ask questions. They can do this from the chat box. They can type their questions in. We'll be monitoring their questions as we go along. Or we will have time after all the speakers. So we want to give a large amount of time for participants to come back and ask questions. So feel free to prepare your questions. Send your questions in on the chat box so that we know who you are and what your approximate question is, and we can then raise this. So we will have questions and answers and comments and discussions at the very end of the presentations before that our participants will present. And we are up to 70, so I'm going to start off now. Welcome all to the event, to the second Ayush Valley seminar, webinar on Ayurveda and COVID-19 prophylaxis. COVID-19 is touching every country in the world. What is it that Ayurveda can offer to help ourselves defend against this unfortunate viral disease that's going around the world? To set the scene, I thought I will run you through a few slides to show where the world is with this pandemic. There's a lot of information available on the website, on websites today about how this is touching the lives and living of citizens and nations of the world. Now, when we look around, we see some amazing examples that are coming out from unexpected parts of the world. And if I share my screen here, I'll take you to the first slide. This comes out of all places, this comes from Vietnam. Now, Vietnam has become one of the first countries in the world to announce that they are COVID-free, a whole country of about 110 million people. Now, what I want to highlight here in this success story is a very fascinating statistic. For the total number of COVID tests that were carried out, this is statistics valid current till the 9th of May, for every confirmed case of COVID-19, Vietnam has done almost 1,000 tests, which is quite amazing. The next country that is COVID-free is New Zealand. About 5 times less number of tests, but they managed to do it. And way down here are some of the most advanced countries of the world in terms of healthcare. United States, just about 6.8 tests to every COVID case that they have found out. United Kingdom, which has the second largest number of, the third largest number, now Brazil has become the second largest number of COVID tests, has done only 7.4 tests. And Germany in Europe has given us extremely good statistics for recovery and healthcare. And with the highest density of testing is 18.9 tests for every COVID-19 positive. This just shows that there is so much heterogeneity, even in a simple thing about regarding testing. And testing is a very important aspect of monitoring this disease, this epidemic. The second one I want to just highlight is the costs related to these tests and how these tests were developed. And from Vietnam, 7th of February, the University of Hanoi Science and Technology University developed testing methods. In India, these tests are developed today in Kerala. And I came to know it was only less than a month back that the UK at the Francis Crick Centre in London was starting to do these things. And Vietnam announced a testing time of 70 minutes and a cost of $15, and so on. As you go down, you can see testing time about the same, new players coming into the scene, the PCR tests. And as we go down, the most important thing, by April, there was a company in Thailand that was ready to launch both these tests. Now, maybe there are lessons to learn from locations like Vietnam for the rest of the world. As we go on, testing was highlighted as a very important aspect of the fight against this disease. Now, for me, this is interesting, but is it prophylaxis? I don't think it is. It is just monitoring something. So the aim of today's discussions is to take us away from these aspects of testing into understanding what the body has to do and what the potential within the body to do this, and what are the insights we can get from Ayurveda. Now, the testing aspect is shown in this blue box here. What is the best way to diagnose the disease, and which body fluids might contain infectious agents, etc. There are a few other questions in this blue box here that is part of the coronavirus clinical characterization consortium that points to aspects that are more relevant to our discussion today, which is how does the immune system in patients behave when they are hit by this? Are we preparing our immune systems correctly? What are the lessons we can have from other systems of medicine like Ayurveda, yoga, Siddha medicine, and the Ayush systems? The other valuable thing for us is to understand who are the people at the high risk of normal illness and severe illness. And what can Ayurveda tell us on how to approach these problems? In real terms, this is what is happening in large nations like India. People migrating back to their homes, to their villages from the cities. These were all, I think the number we are here might be close to 40 million people who are returning back to the villages. Are they coming back in good health? Is there something that they can do to prepare themselves for withstanding this epidemic, pandemic that is on right now, and possibly also future challenges to their health? For those who are interested in learning a little more about all this, they can study this paper, a very valuable paper that talks about the hospitalized cases, about 17,000 people who came to hospital for attention. And you will find this document on the web, several locations it is there. And I want to highlight a few points from this paper. The paper is available at this link down at the bottom. The statistic, when looked at closely here, for about 12,000 patients, 11,000 to 12,000 patients, most times people who present themselves to requiring to a hospital or a care center, these are the common symptoms they see. About 60% have cough or fever, and a smaller number talks about shortness of breath, and then fatigue and all these other symptoms. So you are seeing people with a heterogeneity of conditions. There are people who might have cough without fever, or fever, no cough, people feeling tired, people having a GI tract, gastrointestinal tract presentation. And these are all difficulties with this condition. Now, we are not sure whether conditions somewhere here, whether it's the vomiting and diarrhea that is triggering off some of the pathology or physiological change. We don't know. We don't know how to understand these. But for people interested in learning more, please do consult this paper. You will find it very valuable. The statistic about age and age-related proclivity to the clinical presentation is very striking. Up to about 50 years or 55, we see very small numbers of people presenting for hospital care. The morbidity is even lower. The people who require extra care is very low. So till about your 5th decade of life, it might seem you have something within you that can withstand this infection. And as we go further on, you find this increasing statistic for mortality, for hospital admissions, people getting discharged. Another striking thing here is more males than females. I don't know whether this statistic is good for India. I don't know who is harvesting this data for India, for other parts of the world, for Australia, New Zealand, or for Americas, or for Europe. I'm sure there will be, but we don't have that statistic, these kind of numbers yet. The other striking feature about this is comorbidities. For the 11,326 patients, a large proportion have problems, chronic cardiac disease. Now, Ayurveda provides perspectives on how you understand the human physiology in health and disease. And all these conditions are described in Ayurveda. Now, the message, the take-home message from this slide is a very simple one. To me, it's a very simple one. That there are a lot of people who have underlying health issues, and that is weakening them. And in turn, that makes them weaker in terms of withstanding infection. So Ayurveda has several messages for this, and we hope to hear about this from our speakers. Now, the world is waking up to the fact that health cannot be looked at in isolation. Health is connected to so many other issues. People from Italy say when we overlay the pollution map for Italy, the air pollution map for Italy with incidence of COVID-19, the highest incidence is in the most polluted part of Italy, in northern Italy. So there is something there. What the connection is, whether it's the pollution that has made people's lung function, whether it's compromised it, and that makes them more susceptible, whether the compromised lung function compromises the immune system is another issue. And there are all those aspects that need to be understood. And fortunately, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal points us to all those aspects where we have to be careful. I want to, in a lighter way, I want to highlight this gender equality. It seems COVID is partial to women, or it seems to spare women more than men. So there are many aspects. Here is clean water and sanitation, which is taken up in India in a very big way. No poverty means nutrition, points to nutrition and health. And there are many aspects that, that are very critical for us to think about in the future. Now, the second thing that I want to touch on very briefly is about that area where the virus meets the host. So there are three things at play here. Three things at play. Bear with me, I hear some background voice. We would need to turn down our microphones for those who are not. Okay, come back to my point here about the interface. Where does the pathogen meet the host, and what does it have to do to go in to start to form infection? And this is a wonderful study from Netherlands, from the University of Groningen, Department of Pathology and Medical Biology. A study done as early as 2004 by WIM. What is striking here is the location of this protein, the ACE2 protein, the angiotensin converting enzyme 2, and which is the binding site for the virus to enter cells where it can start to replicate. Now, WIM's data says that this protein is found in almost every location in the body. It's located in human organs, particularly the nasopharynx and lung and stomach and small intestine, etc. You even find ACE2 expression in the bone marrow. Now, this is very important because the bone marrow in Ayurveda comes under a dhatu named Majja. Now, if this virus is able to somehow find its way to the bone marrow, then you can see all the other dhatus being weakened, because the Majja dhatu, from modern biology perspective, is also home to the hematopoietic stem cell and the mesenchymal stem cells. So anything that imbalances the bone marrow will imbalance human physiology in a big way. Now, having met the host somewhere, either in the nasopharynx or any other part of the body, how does infection progress, and where does it finally present itself? And what are the pathologies you can expect? So shown here on this image is that last point of the lung where there is exchange between the gases that come in through the lungs and the circulatory system. Shown here in yellow, orange is the epithelial cells of the alveolus, and shown in blue are the walls of the capillary where you get exchange between the gases, carbon dioxide going into the alveolus and oxygen coming into the blood. When we look at it a little more closely, I'm keeping in mind data about where the ACE2 protein is present. One can visualize a system that is very similar to the pathology that we will see in severe influenza, where you get a compromised lung function. Here, the virus, assume these green blobs are the SARS-CoV-2 virus. They come in, they infect all these cells, and before long, the system is subjected to a lot of pressure. We get a situation that looks something like this. Neutrophils are brought into action. The neutrophils start to produce something called extracellular traps, the neutrophil extracellular traps, which is a collection of cell-free DNA and a lot of material that forms long fibrous structures, which in normal health is very valuable because these are traps for, they increase the surface area and they trap unwanted organisms into the system and get rid of them. But when we have overproduction of this and we go into the state of the body, then we run into problems. Now, this is approximately what happens when we get this virus. There are many things you can do, which is all being done now, to be in a situation where you're not exposed to too much inoculum. That's well and good. We have seen the Vietnam story of how you do diagnostics. You can do this very quickly and very inexpensively to see if you have the virus, if somebody has a virus or not. If the person has a virus, you can look after them a little more cleverly. You can prevent yourself from going to locations where the virus is. Don't go to crowded areas, etc., which is what a lot of people are doing and benefiting from it. But the bit that we want to discuss is that interface between the virus and what happens in the human body. And what is it that Ayurveda can offer us? What are the messages from Ayurveda that will guide us to strengthening our system? And what more can we learn from the texts, from the practitioners? The Indian Ministry of Ayush is already offering recommendations, which are very good recommendations. What else can we have, and what else can we learn from the ancient texts? What else can we learn from practitioners from around the world? What is it that they are facing? What it is that they are experiencing, and what it is that they would like people to learn from? So I'm very happy to introduce to our participants today three very acknowledged and appreciated speakers and teachers from different parts of the world. We have Dr. Ajith coming to us from New Zealand, based now in Auckland. Dr. Ajith studied Ayurveda in Punjab in India several decades ago. He worked with the government in Punjab as a doctor for the government of Punjab. And at some point he went to Australia, which is his home now, New Zealand, which is his home now. He has been spreading the word of Ayurveda across Australia and New Zealand, and he runs his academy there. I'll leave it with Ajit Ji. When he comes in, he will introduce a little bit about his environment where he is and the work that he's doing with spreading Ayurveda, and most of all, aspects of Dinacharya and Ritucharya, and how people of New Zealand and Australia are understanding and picking up Ayurveda. The second person in our lineup is Dr. Martina Ziska. Martina, welcome. Martina is joining us from Prague, the beautiful city of Prague. Martina was born and brought up in Prague and came into medicine inspired by a local healer in Prague. And she studied medicine at the famous Charles University in Prague. And she did her MD. She's a neurologist by training. She has an MD in neurology. And after that, she has done so many things. She has worked for decades in America. She was editor of a magazine, which is still continuing in America. She has worked with Lyme disease. She was a founding editor of one of the big journals on Lyme disease. And somewhere she felt that these were not satisfying her curiosity about health and well-being. And then she found Ayurveda. And for the last 2.5 decades, she has been teaching Ayurveda in many parts of the world. She has taught in the Netherlands. She has taught in America. She has taught, and she now runs Ayurveda school in Prague. Martina has also written a wonderful textbook on Ayurvedic cooking in the Czech language. So she will tell us about the impact of such knowledge that comes from the Indian systems, how people in Europe, particularly Netherlands, where she has taught, and also perhaps Japan too, Martina. I don't know, you have taught in America, and she will tell us a little more about the simple messages from Ayurveda and how they can be used and how people in a place like the Czech Republic is using this. And I'll leave it to Martina to improvise when she comes on. And finally, the last speaker, presenter for us is Dr. Bhaswati Bhattacharya. Now, Bhaswati is a very special person. She's American, but she's also Indian. And so she does this, she's one of the few people who seamlessly works between America and India. Bhaswati has attended several of the top Ivy League schools in America. She has a strange and a very powerful ability to mix the arts and the sciences. So she has taught Ayurveda. She runs her own institute called the Dinacharya Institute. She's author of a book called Everyday Ayurveda, which is published by Penguin. And the book is the bestseller in Amazon India's book list. So for people who would love to learn more about Dinacharya and Ritacharya, then I recommend Bhaswati's book that's available on Amazon India. Worth essential reading for all of us who want to get to know a little more about Dinacharya, Ritacharya as understood by American. She looks Indian, she is Indian, but she's also American. She has studied at the University of Pennsylvania. She has studied in New York, did her MD at the Rush Medical School in New York. She's also assistant professor at the Cornell Medical School. And I don't know how she packs all this thing. And now she is sitting and reaching to us from the temple town of Udupi in near Mangalore in Karnataka, where she's associated with a clinic, a 40-bed hospital, where they're looking after all these people, and Bhaswati manages to combine all these things. So we're very lucky to have Bhaswati with us. Thank you for joining us. Now, thank you. So without taking any more time, I will open the floor to our first speaker. We are very lucky. So welcome all. I can see we are 84 participants. We had many more registered, so welcome all to this event. As I said, the way we do this is we will start with the speakers. They will have about, I think they'll have about 25, 30 minutes to express whatever they have, particularly their experiences from these different locations on how Ayurvedic wisdom is being used, how it is accepted by local people there in their nations, and the messages that are being shared with people locally, and how this community, this global community, is starting to become more and more aware of what Ayurveda has to offer. So I welcome you all to this event. Now, we will give our speakers time to present their, what they want to present. And once they have done, we will open this floor to discussions. We will give a lot of time for participants. So please stay with us to the very end so that you can raise your questions and interact with the participants. And we wish to have a very vibrant session towards the end where you've listened to them and what they have shared, and you can ask your specific question. We are, I repeat what I said earlier, we are very fortunate to have speakers from around the world. We are touching incredible time zones here. And it is almost, we are reaching close to midnight in Auckland, and we are so grateful. Ajith Ji is with us. So Ajith Ji, the floor is all yours. Start with yourself. Thank you once again for being with us so late in the day for you in Auckland, very early in the day for us here in Europe. The floor is all yours. Ajith Ji, I will let you do a little more introduction about yourself, the courses that you run, how long you've been teaching Ayurveda in New Zealand and Australia, and also the kind of student engagements you've had, because I think in our participants, we have a lot of students who are curious to know how do you practice Ayurveda where you are? How do you engage with these things? So the floor is all yours. Namaste. Welcome to our webinar.
Good evening.